So Harley-Davidson flew me and a bunch of other creators out to be a part of their press ride event to check out the new Road Glide, the new Street Glide, and the 2024 CVO Road Glide St. And that's going to be the subject of today's video as I tell you 7 things that you probably missed on the CVO Road Glide St. Now they changed a lot on this motorcycle, but I really want to get into the details. So I'm not going to be focusing on the main parts of the bike, right? Of course it's redesigned, new fairing, new headlight, things like that. I'm going to keep that and just keep that in my normal review, right? I cover all of that stuff. I really want to pinpoint the 7 things that make this bike totally different than any other Harley bagger on the road. If you like this type of content, make sure you subscribe. You could also join us on Patreon or join the channel right here and gain access to some pretty cool perks. Let's go and get started. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the weight, right? And so the running joke is that Harleys are, they're great if you want a sofa on 2 wheels and you want to go to Denny's every Saturday morning or something like that, but they've actually shaved some significant weight off of the bikes. So if we look at the Road Glide St, it's actually down 25 pounds. So if you look at the 2023 Road Glide Special, that one's 853 pounds in running order. The 2023 CVO with the 121 VVT, that's a whole lot of things going on there, but that bike is 863 pounds, while the new CVO Road Glide St is actually 838 pounds. So while it's considered still a heavyweight bagger, this thing feels a heck of a lot more nimble and it is significantly lighter than anything they've done in the past. Now you may be thinking, well, they must have cheaped out in order to do that. They must have put plastics everywhere or something like that. And really the fact of the matter is they didn't. They're using a lighter gauge steel in the tank. This bike also doesn't have the saddlebag speaker, so that's something to consider. But they also have a smaller fender up front and they have forged carbon fiber parts. So that front fender is forged carbon fiber, the center console, the tail cap right behind the solo seat, and the end caps on the titanium slip-ons. So in reality, they're actually using better materials, but they are lighter weight, hence that's why we have a 25-pound lighter motorcycle. Now, another secret that the Road Glide St holds is in its cooling system. So, water cooling in Harley-Davidsons is nothing new, right? The twin-cooled systems, of course, we had the oil-cooled in the specials and all of that. But the way this new water cooling design works is actually much different than previous models. It actually is designed to go to the rear cylinder first and then to the front cylinder. And so this makes a lot of sense because that rear cylinder, not only does it get less air, but that's where you get most of the heat up on the rider and passenger. Those mid-air deflectors are a huge seller for Harley-Davidson strictly because of the heat when you're in stop and go traffic or you're doing low speed drills. So again, to mitigate this issue, they actually designed the water system a little bit differently. So even though it is not a liquid-cooled engine, it still is air-cooled. It has liquid-cooled heads, but it's not a standard liquid-cooled system that Harley has ever used. They actually, in a way, I guess, reverse engineered it, make sure it goes to the rear cylinder first and then to the front to keep the riders cooler. And by the way, even with this new cooling system, your radiator is right there in the front where your typical oil coolers would have been on the old specials. You also have your radiator cap and your reservoir. It's on the left-hand side. It's tucked away so it's not obnoxious or sticking out there or anything like that, so it doesn't ruin the aesthetics. And it also has a fan, but that thermostatically controlled fan is actually pointed down towards the ground away from the riders. Now, not only do you have the customizable modes, but you also have the track modes, which are actually going to dumb down some of the safety features for you to give you maximum control. So you have track mode and then track mode plus. The plus is going to really dumb down some of those safety features to give you maximum control over your motorcycle whenever you're on the track and whenever you need it. Now, another thing I want to point out here, I talked about the 121 high output motor and how that's different from the VVT that's actually in last year's CVO models. But one thing I wanted to point out here is that that heavy breather has actually been redesigned. Now, the only experience I have with Harley heavy breathers like this was actually on my Lowrider S. But one thing I noticed on that one is it stuck out way too far in order for your legs to be comfortable. Now, you may not have this issue at all if you're a taller rider. I'm not really quite sure, to be honest with you. But I just noticed that it got in the way. And while it looked good, it was just really kind of annoying. Well, now Harley has redesigned that. So you will notice when you look at it from the side, there's actually a relief cut in there that allows your leg to sit perfectly up against it, even away from it a little bit when you want to, and it just feels so much better. Like, I was not a believer in the heavy breathers like that from Harley, just because, like I said, they were super uncomfortable, but now they have actually provided a relief cut there. So not only does it look good now, but it's way more comfortable than what it was before. Now, another detail that you might have looked over, but is a big one here, is the front suspension. So we have a 47 millimeter inverted front suspension made by Showa. Now, not only can you adjust the rebound and dampening, but also the preload. Also, they have a new DLC coating, and so this is designed to keep the friction down and increase the durability. So if you see sport bikes and they have that gold appearance to the front end, this is providing the same function, even though it's painted in black. And so you're going to get a very sport-like suspension on this motorcycle. But also it has the exposed reservoirs that's going to keep the oil and gas separated, and it gives it a sportier appearance. Now, what does all this stuff mean when we're just talking about specs and all that kind of stuff? That's one thing. But the way this motorcycle rides, again, they took us to the track, the road course right outside of the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and that's where this thing thrives. And the first thing that we talked about, and the first thing I noticed, is how nimble this bike is. You don't think about an 838-pound motorcycle being this nimble, but man, it is seriously impressive whenever you're turning into the corners, you're coming off of the corners, the way the entire suspension responded, and we didn't adjust anything. It was just there. And so I would imagine with a little bit of adjustment, it would probably feel even better. Granted, that's on a closed course and the conditions were controlled. Beautiful day, all of that kind of stuff. But one thing I can tell you is this motorcycle handled incredibly well. Now, of course, you want the world to know that you have a CVO, and they do not disappoint here either. And so we have special badging on the console. We have a special badging that's right under the wind splitter. So it is an updated windshield for the CVO specifically. You also have the special graphics on the tank and on the fairing. And then, of course, you have the hog, the traditional hog that's been used for so long on the left side cover. All of this is topped off with the performance red that you're going to see that kind of accents everything. So whereas previous ST models, they had the bronze accents, now they've gone to red. And also they actually have the ST logo that's laser engraved in the wheels as well. So it still screams CVO everywhere. Now, there's also a new collection on this bike, and so one further weight savings thing is they actually have smaller floorboards on the front. Now, I was kind of skeptical of this because full floorboards and baggers, they go together like peas and carrots, but these actually have raised rubber areas, and so that they're like not sticky, but they are, they provide a really good amount of traction. So I'll be honest with you, maybe it was the combination of me just focusing on everything they were teaching us. We had Kyle Wyman there, by the way, who had input into this motorcycle. I talked about this in the review, but it was just awesome to, get some of those, techniques that they use and apply that to my own writing. So maybe it was a combination of that and just focusing and, just really trying to pay attention to the motorcycle, techniques, all this kind of stuff. But what I can tell you is those floorboards not only look good, but they were super comfortable as well. Of course, your brake pad and then your shifter peg and the hand grips are all from the Switchback collection. By the way, the hand grips are non-heated on this model. So again, it is a little bit different than your normal CVO, but it's just one of those things you need to keep in mind. So no rear speakers in the bags, no heated hand grips. And also the remote lock and unlock feature on the CVO that's, kind of the only way you can get that on a Harley Davidson has been omitted. But again, we're looking at weight savings here and performance inspired. And so they wanted to save weight wherever they could. One extra note is that they actually used a composite oil pan, and that saves a little bit of weight as well. Also, the 121 high output is 2 pounds lighter than the VVT. So you may be thinking, well, what's the difference there? Well, the VVT is kind of tuned for like max torque, right? That's what Harleys are known for, whereas the high output is tuned for max horsepower. So you'll lose a little low end torque, but you will gain that. And also, they've actually upped the red line on this one to 5,900 RPMs. Now, you may be a sport bike rider and be like, oh yeah, well mine's 9 grand, 10 grand, whatever it is. But in the Harley world, that's pretty freaking impressive, and this thing shows its power, in my opinion, all throughout the rev range. It was really impressive. Now, with all that being said, that does not mean you do not get upgraded audio, because you absolutely do. And so we have 2 speakers in the fairings. They are the Rockford Fosgate Stage 2, but they're 6.5-inch speakers compared to the 5.25 that's in the regular Road Glide. And you're getting like 150 watts of RMS per speaker, and you have a 4-channel 500-watt amp. So while you may not get as many speakers, you still are getting a really awesome system. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to actually listen to music because, again, I was focusing on the track and how the bike handled and all that kind of stuff. So anybody that has an ST, maybe you can let me know how this thing does at highway speeds with just the 2 speakers and the increased power. Now, we may go over the 7 things you may have missed, but just consider some of these things bonuses. We have a new intake manifold. So it's an aluminum intake manifold. It's been redesigned to give us better air. So more air and less restrictive air, okay? They have also increased the throttle body size from 55 millimeters to 58 millimeters. We also have new intake valve seats. They're more of a low profile design. We have the oval ports instead of the round, new cylinder heads, and we have new rotors in the front. So they're a wave style rotor. So they're designed to reduce weight and dissipate heat better than your standard design. Those are 320 millimeters, of course, matched up with Brembo brakes. And the last thing we'll talk about, I have no idea how many we're up to now, but it doesn't matter. We have new engine guards and saddlebag guards. So the new front engine guard is more of a flat out bar. And because everything is getting away from your slammed bagger, stretched saddlebag look and going more to performance-oriented design, they want to make sure that the P&A kind of keeps up with this. Now, when it comes to the parts and accessories, I'm going to do a separate video totally talking about all of that new stuff, because there's a lot that's changed there and a lot of new stuff to talk about there as well. But on the ST, you're going to get that new flat out bar, and then when you couple that with the saddlebag guards, the new design, it looks really freaking sharp. So, I like the chopped engine guards that come on the new Road and Street Glide. The flat out bar is just freaking awesome though. It's a super clean look while giving you that West Coast and performance styling that matches up really well with the ST. And that's everything I got with you. Those are 7 more things or secrets you may have missed with the new CVO Road Glide ST. I'd love to hear if this is a bike that you're getting, or if you're getting one of the new redesigned 2024 regular Road Glide or Street Glides. Let me know what you think about the bikes down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. You could also join us on Patreon or join the channel right here. Big thanks to you guys. See you in the next one. And as always, hold them down.